afternoon,
Evening.
or morning, wherever it is, wherever you're watching this video.
Yeah.
Welcome to the next episode of
All the gear.
Some Idea.
What are we doing today, Lee?
Well, it's a little bit different today. We've got a little bit of a surprise. It's a
Yeah.
bit of a little bit different to what we have been doing. No motorbikes, no quad bikes involved.
No
We've
boat.
actually got
No boat.
no boat. Yeah, there is that. Yeah, we've actually got a car to work on today.
Yeah.
This comes courtesy of my dad. He's got a good old Land Rover Freelander, and today we're going to be tackling the cambelt on it. It's the second time I've done a cambelt on this car.
You've had it for too long.
Yeah, he's had it too long. Yeah, he's in the background. You might hear him shout every now and again. Yeah. So like I say, it's the second time I've done a cambelt on this car. So he's had it more than 5 years. General as a rule of thumb, obviously check the service intervals on your car. 5 years, 50 to 100,000 miles. I'd probably say, wouldn't you?
Yeah, some at 80, some 110, but it'd be in your service book.
Yeah, it'd be in your service book. Follow your service guidelines. Don't take what I say as gospel. Although Dad does. Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, not a lot left to do but to crack on with it. Really, we've got the some of the engine mount blocks are loose. The car's jacked up on one side. Being a 4x4 type vehicle, it's quite high up anyway, so access isn't really an issue. And if George shows us down in the engine bay,
yeah, well, I'm going to be cameraman today, so you might have some rubbish footage. So here's the engine bay. What is it? A K series engine?
Yeah, this is a 1.8 K series. Those eagle-eyed of you would have noticed that already. Can be a problemsome engine, but this one is reasonably high miles. I think it's on around about 170,000 miles. So those of you might not have seen a K series go. It's had
a little guest in there, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that was a pressure washer, if I'm honest.
Oh,
yeah.
It looks like a little friend's been in there.
Yeah, I don't think he has though, if I'm honest.
Well, something to look out for if you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but yeah, as I say, K series engine can be quite problemsome. Those of you who know about them have heard all the stories about head gaskets and this, that, and the other, I'm sure. But this one has got quite an extensive service history. It's had 2 engine rebuilds in its past. About being 2 head gaskets. One of them had a complete engine rebuild, including cylinder liners, etc., etc. It's had the infamous prop shaft delete, which is quite a common thing on Land Rover Freelanders. People delete those as a response of either fuel economy or a failing rear differential. We might fit one on it one day.
See if it works.
See if it works or not. Yeah, you never know. But as Land Rover Freelanders go, don't get me wrong, I haven't been under the bonnet of many of them, but this is one of the cleanest I've ever seen.
I've been under one.
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah?
My missus's brother.
Sorry?
I haven't been under my missus's
You've been
brother.
under your missus's brother?
No.
You don't be saying that sort of thing on YouTube, mate.
No, you're right. No, he changed the battery, or someone had changed the battery.
Yeah.
And put the terminals on the wrong way around.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to do that.
And then it wouldn't start, and he went to a garage. And
Yeah.
they went, no, we can't do that. Went to another garage, and then they're saying it needs an engine ECU.
Yeah.
I pulled the fuse box cover off over there, and found a blown fuse.
And that was it.
Changed the fuse, started. He even got his money back from the garages and the recovery costs because they had misdiagnosed it.
Well, that's great, isn't it? Then
Don't
that's
happen
fantastic.
everywhere, but start with the basics.
Yeah.
Cool, right.
And I think the whole time that Dad has owned this car, best part of 5-6 years, it's only let him down once.
That is long for you, isn't it? That is a long period for you to have a car.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not as bad as Lee, mind, but...
Yeah, so I say it's let him down once, and that was the fuel pump.
Fair enough.
So the fuel pump went on it. Oh, and there was some starter motor issues, but that was due to corrosion on the exciter wire for the solenoid.
Cheap repair then.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and the fuel pump, that was, well, it was sorted within a day.
Yeah.
You know? You've just got a generic fuel pump from Euros or eBay or wherever. We have also got a rocker cover gasket to tackle whilst we're in here as well. I'm not sure if we'll document that or not, but I'll probably do that once the cambelt's finished. So you might see that, you might not, but I'm sure someone else has done a video.
Depends how he's feeling.
Yeah. Awesome. Right, so let's crack on.
Yeah, man.
We're just removing the engine mount at the moment, or parts of the engine mount where it bolts to the body. Got the stabiliser section, which is this part here, and then the main body of the mount, which is just here. I do remember last time I tackled this cambelt, the engine mount was a bit of an arse to take off. all due to like alignment wise. If you see, if I move the camera over here a bit, these two bolts that mount the engine mount to the engine are sort of at a slight angle. They don't go direct straight down, and that causes a bit of an issue when it comes to lining the engine mount back on the stud here and trying to get these bolts back in. But you never know, it might not cause an issue this time. We have gained more experience in that time of dad owning the car, so
Got some idea.
yeah, exactly. Hopefully all the gear.
Hopefully. Right. I'm gonna leave that there.
You did bring the bits, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Lee's just taken off the power steering belt and alternator belt.
Yeah, power steering belt and yeah, auxiliary belt.
Yeah. Just taking the cover off, and once the cover's off, we can show you what's in it. Might be some money in there, you never know. Lee might have left some in there last time.
That's about 50 quid.
Yeah.
Oosh. Right. So yeah, you got the top cam cover here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts that hold that on, and then now that's free. You pull that forward and lift her up, and that reveals the cam belt itself. And it looks like that bolt I was undoing isn't part of the mount. So, sorry, is part of the mount, but it isn't anything to do with the
It's on the bottom one.
Oh right, that's cool. That's no issue.
No, it's just undone it from the, rather than doing it down there or something. No.
I do think that's a water pump bolt though. But that's no issue. Yeah, so basically I was undoing one of the engine mount bolts at the bottom there, and it felt tight as I was pulling it out, so I just wanted to take the cover off to make sure it wasn't pulling out a idler bolt or a tensioner bolt or anything, because obviously don't want to be pulling idlers and tensioners off until we've got the engine timed up, which is what we'll get onto in just a second. Once we've removed the engine mount, remove the bottom pulley and got the bottom cover off.
Bish bash bosh.
Yeah. No, last time.
What, the cam belt?
Yeah. Regarding the not undoing them.
Mount.
Oh, right.
Struggled with them last time.
Yeah.
So the bolts Lee's been doing are the ones that are down underneath here. He's undone this one up here and the mount that goes across, because these ones are really tight. And we don't tend to carry a spare mount.
The engine is supported with a trolley jack underneath. So if you are going to tackle this sort of thing yourself at home, make sure you have got your engine supported, either with a T-bar brace across the top, hooked onto your lifting eyes, or as I say, a trolley jack underneath with something soft on the sump. Ideally put it on like a strong piece of webbing or near to a corner, just so it's not going to put a hole in your sump. Yeah. Right. Yes. Get the jack it up. There we are. And that's the complete engine mount assembly. So with the bolts we were struggling with was those two there. But I think what's happened there is where they're steel bolts into an alley body, It's
And they're on a angle.
yeah, as I say, that's how the mount sits on the car. So you mounts to the body there, mounts to the engine here, and then you see those bolts don't go in straight. So to line all that up with those two bits separated, it's just going to make the job a lot more of a pain in the backside.
And there's a bit of extra stress on there because of the way that they're.
Yeah, it's not a great design, really, is it?
No, most of the ones that we've done, they're directly down
Yeah,
because there's no stress there. But that's having to put stress on the actual.
yeah, you kind of put in torsional force on the mount as well
torsional. That's a big word, isn't it?
as yeah, it's a good word for me, isn't it?
You'll make someone discombobulate with that one.
Yeah, all right. Check out you with your discombobulated. Anyway, moving swiftly on. So yeah, now you see you've got the engine mount removed. You can clearly see that there has been some oil seepage inside the cam cover itself. It's not overly bad, as you can see. You've still got the original writing from the last, the cam belt fitted on the engine itself. So it does not show much signs of wear. However, you can see some slight discoloration of the rubber and the teeth markings starting to appear on the other side of the belt. Once we've got the belt off, we will do a full inspection of it and show you the inside of the teeth, what sort of things to look out for when changing your cam belt. I mean, we're going to be changing this one regardless. Basically, it makes a line going all the way across by the looks of it. So those two marks, there's a mark there, need to line up together. And then there's one here, and then one there. You basically need to have a straight horizontal line between both pulleys, and then you know your cams are timed up. And looking at the bottom, it needs to be at 12 o'clock. So you can see the mark on the crank just there where my finger is.
Yep.
So yeah, you've got the mark on the crank there. That needs to be facing at 12 o'clock. And that meets up with a piece of webbing, which is behind the cover. We'll see that once I've got the crank pulley off. But we'll take that crank pulley off in a second, and then we'll get the cams locked up once the bottom pulley is off.
Do you know if these are if it on that bolt, is it a Woodruff key or is it a?
I believe it's a Woodruff key. Yeah, it's not a free floating pulley. That is something to be aware of. If you are going to tackle a cam belt yourself, obviously try and get yourself some manual, some instructions, unless you know what you're doing. Because some bottom pulleys are freewheeling in the fact that once you've undone the crank pulley, the cam belt pulley will just float around and move freely of itself. So effectively, it's sandwiched between the crankshaft. Sorry,
Ford Focus.
Ford Focus.
Yeah.
All engines. Or?
No, I think it's like a 1.6 petrol.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I must have got lucky with my one then.
Yeah, I'm sure they're free floating. 1.6 petrol.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah, like I say, there's some engines where you will have like a sandwiched bottom pulley, which literally just stays in position due to the tightness of the crank pulley. But others will have a Woodruff key type effect to stop that pulley from moving, so you haven't got to worry about that moving whilst the cam belt is taken off. Not wanting to scare any of you guys, but obviously if you are going to tackle it yourself and you've got that style bottom pulley, we want you to make any mistakes. Yeah.
Scared you.
Beautiful.
Oh, I think you can see the key on the
So that's the key for the
pulley.
the alternator pulley.
Is that on there? The key
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah, that's the key for the.
So that'll line up with the key on the crank.
Yeah, but it's in a different position for the timing marks than the timing marks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put the bolt back in because it's. So now that we've got the bottom pulley off, I can show you all of the marks. So now we've got the bottom pulley off, I can show you all those marks again. They're not quite long, so I need to readjust the crank. But you can see those two marks there on the teeth of the cam pulleys need to be lined up together. And if we go down to the crank, there are two little circles on those top two teeth on the crank there, and the webbing at the back on the back of the pulley there on the engine needs to be in the middle of those two dots. Once those two are in line, the engine is timed up and the belt can be taken off. So as you can see, we've got all the covers now off, the engine mount is off, and we've got the full belt exposed. The cam belt is all lined up where it needs to be. This is a cam belt locking tool used for a K-series engine, and it literally just fits in between the two cams like so. So when we've got the belt removed, those cams now can't move, or if they do, it'll be a minuscule amount. And then when we refit the belt, you just have to make sure that the crank pulley is lined up with those two dots either side of that engine webbing, as I showed you on the video earlier. So now we're going to crack on and get the belt removed. There's no idlers, is there? It's just a tension.
It just uses the
Water pump.
yeah.
So with the tensioner loose, we can now hopefully reduce the tension. That's adding it on. Yep, that's adding it on. So the tensioner belt, I'll show you once we've got a new tensioner on, but that is an Allen key slot, and the bolt is effectively on an eccentric bearing, and when you move that either up or down, it will show you a direction on the tensioner to turn it. There is an arm on the tensioner down here, which I'll show you when the new tensioner is fitted, but that arm needs to line up with this prong that comes away from the tensioner here. I'll show you in more detail on the new one before we fit it. Jeez. It's brand new still. It feels brand new still. That's mad.
Movement in it as well.
So as you can see, we've now got the belt removed, and as I said earlier, we'll give you a detailed rundown on what the belt looks like when we've got it taken off. So as you can see on the outside of the belt, it is starting to wear. As you can see, the tooth marks are starting to come through on the other side of the belt. It's not really too much to worry about. The time to worry is when this side of the belt starts getting cracks on it, and it starts to become perished. I'm pleased to say that is nowhere near this stage yet. This belt probably would have gone another 10, maybe 20,000 miles, and that is just a wild guess. But as I say, there are, if you crimp the belt ever so slightly, yeah, there are some very small perishing marks starting to appear. But that again is precisely why we're changing the belt on the time interval. It's 5 years old. It's a good time to get the belt changed. And if I crimp it the other way, you can see the belt does look in relatively good condition. It's starting to get a little bit smooth, and there are gaps starting to appear in the rubberized material itself on the belt. So as I say, it's going to be changed regardless, but this is not the worst belt by far I've ever seen. When they are starting to get very old and perished, you will start to see numerous large cracks going across the belt here, and that'd be a good indication as to when to replace your belt. So if you haven't checked your cam belt anytime recently, or if you're not sure if your car's got a cam belt, some cars have got a chain, it is definitely a good idea to get it checked, because if your cam belt snaps, it could result in catastrophic engine failure. So here we are, we've got the belt side by side now, and you can clearly see the difference between the two. So the one on your right hand side is the old belt, one on the left is the new one, and as you can see, the wear on the new one compared to the old one, you can see there's a physical shine to the inside of the belt, and the outside and on the new belt it's rather a matted colour. So there is wear in the belt, but as I say, it probably would have lasted a bit longer, but it's nonetheless a good time to change it. So, as I said with the tensioner, when I got the new one out, I'll give you a detailed overview of it. You can see the bolt for the tensioner isn't exactly central to the bearing itself. So you can see this section is not in the middle of the bearing. So that's why I called it an eccentric tensioner, or an eccentric bolt holder. So the idea of that is it bolts in through the side of the engine block, and then when you turn this Allen key, it effectively puts more pressure onto the belt, therefore tensioning it. And then it's on a sprung loaded effort inside the actual tensioner itself. So when you turn that Allen key around before tightening the bolt, that marker there needs to line up with that prong. So that prong needs to be in the middle of that marker there. And then what we do once we've got it tight, we turn the engine over twice, so any slack in the belt can be taken up by the tensioner, and then we'll recheck it and adjust it as necessary.
So the new belt's on.
Yep, all we got to do now is just tension it up, do the tensioner up, and turn it over twice, and recheck the tension. Then we can start reassembling everything as it was. As you can see, we've got the new belt fitted. It's all timed up and fitted as well as it can be. We've turned the engine over twice, checked the tension and the tensioner, and the tensioner is now nice and tight. So we're going to go ahead. You can see we've got the bottom cover on already. Now going to refit the bottom pulley, refit the top cover, the engine mount, and both the auxiliary belts, and hopefully she'll run. You now join us back at the rebuilt K-Series engine. You can see it's got some brand new auxiliary belts on there that we've refitted as part of the cam belt change. We've replaced the auxiliary belts as well. Obviously all the covers and that are back on now, so you won't be able to see the belt in its entirety whilst the engine's running. But you want to fire her up, Dad?
You nervous?
No.
Oh.
For a change. There we have it. It appears I still know how to do a cam belt. So that's about it for this Rover K-Series Land Rover Freelander cam belt replacement. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been informative for you. And do leave a comment.
Yeah. Like, subscribe.
Yeah.
Ding the bell.
Yeah, the usual stuff. And on that toadstool,
We'll see you next time.
tatty bumbles.
Bye-bye.